Hey grade 7, welcome to another edition of Mr. V Teaches Math. And today, folks, what we are going to look at is something called exponents. So there are basically four goals of this this video and then into the practice that my students will do work on tomorrow. The goals are to write numbers as repeated multiplication. You can see that down here a little bit. There's some repeated multiplication going on. To be able to write numbers as powers. And then to be able to write powers in exponential and standard form. And then lastly, to evaluate powers. Now, when you learn about multiplication for the first time, say when you're in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, whenever you learn about repeated addition, or you learn about multiplication, you talk about how repeated addition can be rewritten in a simpler way by using multiplication. Now, the question then becomes, what happens when you have repeated multiplication? Is there a simpler way to write repeated multiplication? And the answer actually is yes. There is a simpler way to write repeated multiplication, and what we do is we use something called exponents, where we show powers. Two different names. They mean different parts, but we can write something like this. So if I have 4 times 4 times 4, I can write 4 to the power of 3, or 4 to the third power. If I have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, I can write 3 to the fifth power. If I have 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, I can write 6 to the power of 4. And then over here, if I have 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7, I can write that as 7 to the sixth power. So let me explain how that works. Let's say I give you the example of 4 times 4. The product 4 times 4 can be written as 4 to the power of 2. We call 4 to the power of 2 a power of 4. And basically, there are 3 parts to something like this. The first part is the 4. It's called the base. Okay? The base is the number that is getting multiplied. That's the number that is being repeatedly multiplied, right? The second part to it is the 2. This is called the exponent. Okay? The exponent, which is, in this case, it's 2. It's the number of times that we multiply the base. So our initial problem here said 4 times 4. 4 is the number that's getting multiplied, and it's multiplied by itself 2 times, right? There are 2 4s. So it's 4 times 4. The last thing is sort of the whole thing. It's the exponent and the base together, and we call that the power. So the base and the exponent together, when we put it together, it's called a power. So this power is 4 to the exponent of 2, the base is 4, and then it is the number that we repeatedly multiply. The exponent 2 is the number of times that we multiply the base. So you could have something like, 9 times 9 times 9 times 9, and we know that the number that is getting repeatedly multiplied is 9, and the number of times it gets multiplied is 4. So 9 is our base, 4 is our exponent. Okay. Now, occasionally, we may run into a problem like this, where it looks like it's like 2 times 2 times 2 times 8 times 8 times 8. Okay. So there has to be a way to use exponents to help me make this problem look simpler. But great news, there is. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, I do this because it helps me keep stuff straight. What I do is I'll put a box around all the 2's. I'm going to skip this multiplication symbol. Now, I know that there are 2's being multiplied repeatedly, so I know that 2 is going to become my base. And if I count up, there are 3 of them. So I say that's 2 to the power of 3. I'm going to carry the multiplication symbol down. Then I'm going to put a box around my 8's. And again, because 8 is being repeatedly multiplied, I know that's going to become my base. And then I know that since there are 3 of them, that is 8 to the power of 3. So we can rewrite this question, 2 times 2 times 2 times 8 times 8 times 8, as 2 to the power of 3 times 8 to the power of 3. Last thing that I want to tell you guys before I let you go for the night is just some terms that we talk about. Often, if you see a number, say like this, 4 to the power of 2, 3 to the power of 2, we can say to the power of 2 as the word squared. So we say something like 4 squared or 3 squared. Now this comes out of calculating area of objects. We say that it gets calculated in something squared. When we see something to the power of 3, so say we have 4 to the power of 3 or 10 to the power of 3 or any number to the power of 3, we can say that that is cubed. Typically because we talk about volume in terms of, here's a cube and it's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, and then when we find the volume, you multiply the 3 numbers together, length times width times height, so it's 1 centimeter times 1 centimeter times 1 centimeter, which actually equals 1 centimeter cubed, and it happens to actually be a cube. So that's why. So when you hear me talk about something squared or something cubed, squared means to the power of 2, cubed means to the power of 3. Anyway, that's all for tonight. Have a great night. Talk to you soon.